grocery stores are creating more phenomenal buying experiences than most contractors are. As a contractor, we've thought, do we have a great sales experience or customer experience? We look at our competition, we're like, oh, well, we're better than that person, better than that person. But homeowners are looking at us saying, yeah, but look at these phenomenal experiences we're getting in every other buying experience we're having out there. You guys are letting us down.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Blue Collar Boardroom. Got an important guest here, one of the technological leaders in the roofing industry. Inside this YouTube episode, we're going to talk about modern sales solutions to scale sales virtually. We're going to be talking to a guy who actually had one rep do more than $8 million in business. And it's through a supercharged way they support their rep so that the sales rep only sales. And you know what I love most about this guest is that not only are they out servicing roofing contractors, providing technological solutions in the marketplace, but they're one of the largest roofing contractors in their country. And out of Calgary, we have Ryan Shantz from Sumo Quote. Hey, welcome to the Blue Collar Boardroom, bud.
Yeah, Lee, good to see you, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, a lot of my guys know that digital is the future. And what really impressed me was that story of that sales rep that had like $8 million through inside sales. And man, to lead us off, maybe tell us a little bit about how that's possible and what maybe break that down a little bit.
Yeah, no, of course, man. And I'll only throw one little thing to correct you on here. We actually had two guys over.
Oh, there you go. Two guys.
Year. So, you know what we've been fortunate in that we've had a couple of good storms back to back here, right? And anybody that's in a hail zone knows that it doesn't come every year, but Calgary, yeah, we were fortunate. We had two good back-to-back years. So what we did is we looked at and we knew, you know, just kind of those $1 million producers, 2 million, maybe $3 million producers out there. But it's tough. Those are special individuals. And so it's hard to find those individuals. So we look to do a few different things than what a lot of companies probably do out there, right? So what we did, obviously, we leveraged technology like crazy. So our CRM, our follow-up, our digital marketing, our SEO, Sumo Quote, it's kind of all of this stuff that we weave together. So there's a big digital experience that we create for the homeowner, but we also try and figure out how do we support our salesperson. So we build a little team around them. So we take our gutter installers, which aren't the first trade to be busy, right? Usually after a storm, it's roof, then siding, and then you're doing the metals at the end and stuff. So gutter installers are trained in safety. We give them maps and routes of our inbound leads. They go out there, do the inspections. They bring it in, hand it off to a university student that we would hire for the summer or a large team of university students. So we train them in Xactimate and in Sumo Quote. They build everything out. Then you've got your salesperson really doing what they do best, which is understanding what needs to be done, understanding the details of it, and working with the adjuster and the homeowner to get that thing across the finish line and signed off on.
Hey, man, that's an awesome process. And, you know, really, I kind of want to get into your background now because the technology is awesome. A lot of people heard of Sumo Quote, but maybe they hadn't heard about the man behind Sumo Quote and his story, how he came up in roofing. And, you know, this whole YouTube's about these white collar people coming up in a blue collar world. That's a lot like what your story is. So where you come from?
Yeah, dude. And I don't know if you know all of my background. So I'm going to go another step back beyond that. So I was on the tools back early 2000s. So I did about 1.5 years shingling and spent some good time in there. So I knew the industry. I knew how everything was put together and the risks and the benefits and the profits and all that stuff, right? Actually ditched that stuff, got an MBA. And then after that, I bought a denim line, a blue jeans company. So I got in on the fashion side of things, which was fascinating. So bought that. We manufactured in India. So I was flying back and forth between India and Canada and into the US a lot and everything else. That's a tough business though. And there's an art and a science to that thing. So I was fortunate. I sold that business to a company over in Germany, got in, was getting married, got in on the roofing side again with some of my partners. And yeah, the company scaled. So last year we sold about 45 million. So it was a good year to say the least, and growing and doing good things. But got in on the construction business and really on that sales side, and built a team and started to try and think about how do we really stand out from the competition, right? This was the same thing, really. The reason I shared that fashion side was it's the same thing that you deal with there is, roofing. Like if I'm trying to say, hey, you should use me because I'm OC Platinum or whatever. Well, there's 10 guys behind me that are OC Platinum. So how do I really differentiate myself and stand out? It's the same thing in fashion where it's like, hey, you've got a t-shirt, you throw a logo on it, suddenly it's worth $50. That's the kind of thing that I want to do and sell and stand out from. And so we built some technology to show the homeowner, to give them this really impressive experience when they were signing. And it worked great. Our closing rates went up by 63%. We were selling at the time $1,100 of upgrades on average. Last year, people using Sumo Quote sold $1,700 of upgrades on average on their average sale. So it's moving the numbers, and those numbers add up quick. But that was really the story. Was it started in this industry of fashion where I had to figure out how do I stand out from the competition, and there's value and there's money in that. And then I got into technology, and then we sort of brought that concept into roofing and built some technology around it there. And yeah, we've been kind of pushing and growing ever since.
What I love about it is a lot of my audience is roofers, contractors, but a lot of them are insurance roofers. And you are an insurance retail roofer out of Calgary. You kind of have a combination method. Curious about some walls that you hit maybe while you were scaling, maybe at that $5 million mark or $10 million mark, any big walls that you can remember?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We've all been through it, right? Like our business has been around for 20 years. So we hit that wall, and it was a wall you could anticipate, right? You have back-to-back storms, and really whether they're a cat or a smaller storm, you're getting business out of it. You're being able to work it. But we went 3 years with almost no activity in our city here. That's hard. Like that is when you've grown to the size that we are, and you've got a CFO and an HR director and multiple people in safety, only working on the safety part of your business. You've got a lot of overhead. So we hit that in 2017 for about 3 years. We had already started to shift into understanding the retail game and getting really strong there. And again, standing out from the competition made a big difference there. We got into commercial, we got into service. Service was a big deal. Great margins there. We built a lot of relationships with property management companies out there. And so a lot of repeat business that came in, which resulted then in a lot of large replacement jobs. But man, that stuff, it gives you the ability to get through those hard years when there isn't insurance work. We went through that, and it was you're grateful you've got a good CFO and a strong balance sheet when you're going into those times, because you can't just be sucking every dime out of the business and hoping you're going to get through those years, without having good banking relationships and stuff like that in place as well.
Yeah, and that we were talking about a digital future of the business, and that there would be maybe a digital price line of roofers one day. Do you see yourself ever trying to see that, or do you, how long do you think we are away from that?
I think we've got, how far are we away from it? There's going to be your early adopters that are going to get there very, very quickly now. Like if it's already started, I think with a couple of companies that I've seen out there, I don't think they've nailed the process yet, but they're going in the right direction. And you and I have had some really interesting conversations on that part specifically. I think it's going to be, those are the ones that are going to scale, be sustainable, and ultimately have the most significant growth and profits at the end of the day. So if it's something that you can figure out and learn right now, and I know one of the sides that you've had a ton of video, SEO, like you kind of have that side really dialed in from the work you've been doing over the last number of years, haven't you?
Yeah, that's, the kind of front end of it is figuring out that I was just an insurance guy and my wife was sick and tired of traveling. That's where my brick wall was. And so once I started coaching people, I had a lot of retail guys come to me and they're like, what are you going to do? Just teach me how to go knock doors and chase storms? And I'm like, well, you know what? That's kind of my game. And that was about 7 years ago. And so I knew I wanted to serve them better. I knew I wanted to give my wife a place to call home and not have to travel like crazy. And so became more of a storm catcher through learning how to do these direct response ads. And so for me, specifically the video advertising on Facebook, the retargeting abilities on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, using sales funnels. And then also, of course, SEO that comes from a lot of the different stuff. I mean, you get as traffic as many ways as you can, but it's a combination of, using digital marketing. But once you get the lead, how does your company best get more jobs off of it?
Well, that's kind of it's a perfect intro. Like I look at a lot of this today, right now, my understanding is the most valuable brand in the world is Amazon, right? Mm-hmm. And so I've researched and studied not just Amazon, but a lot of these brands out there. But Amazon's the one that really obsessed over customer experience. Mm-hmm. Right? How do they stand out as a company above and beyond everybody else out there? And they've crushed it with that. And so in looking at that customer experience journey, in looking at it, I've sort of mapped out, there's three main components of that, right? The first is awareness. What's your brand? What's your position in the market? How are people seeing you? And you're hitting all that stuff. Like that's the stuff that I would say, really, really well. That next part of it, once you've got that lead, now you're into this sales experience. So you go from awareness to sales experience, which is that area that I've loved and gone through over and over. And we've really used to scale our business. We're helping contractors with right now. And then from there, you kind of go into that production experience. Do you deliver what you promise that you're going to deliver, right? So Amazon, if they only did the awareness and then they only had this great website with good reviews and photos and all of these component, click to one by click and see that you can get it tomorrow and all these components they built in there. If they only had that stuff and they couldn't deliver on the experience, they wouldn't have scaled to what they are. So you still have to have a phenomenal production experience. But to me, that's that full customer experience, right? Awareness, again, which you do really well, to that sales experience, which we're talking about today, to production. But on specifically that sales experience, now we're analyzing homeowners and we're analyzing homeowner buying habits and specifically how do they buy, what kind of buying experiences do they have from their bank, from their grocery store. Like, my wife and I, we got 3 small boys. Dude, dragging 3 small boys through a grocery store for an hour is a nightmare. Like I will pay any amount of money to not do that, right? And so the grocery stores, you've got this, go online, place your order, drive up to the grocery store, they walk it outside, place it in your car, you drive away. Grocery stores are creating more phenomenal buying experiences than most contractors are, right? We haven't thought as contractors. As a contractor, we've thought, do we have a great sales experience or customer experience? We look at our competition, we're like, well, we're better than that person, better than that person. But homeowners are looking at us saying, yeah, but look at these phenomenal experiences we're getting in every other buying experience we're having out there. You guys are letting us down. Like this is not good at all. And then your reviews aren't as good. You're entering in with homeowners being frustrated from the beginning. It's just not as good and sharp as it could be. So that's why we focus so heavily.
A lot of my guys in insurance want to make more money. I got the supplement process where the insurance company slows it down. We're overcoming it by selling them retail, and that gets them approved for financing and open to the conversation for upgrades. And so my whole life, I've probably taken for advantage the amount of money that you can get if you really are really disciplined to this better customer experience. And so what I'm curious about is the secrets to getting $1,700 per job on average. I think our audience would really love that.
You know what? I don't want to say it's necessarily a secret, but I mean, it's just offer it, make it easy. Okay. So Sumo Quote. So for those of us that don't know us, fast, beautiful proposals, right? Whether it's a contingency agreement, a final authorization, a retail quote, whether it's roofing, siding, whatever it is, offering financing, it's kind of got all that stuff. So you've got this, it's almost a quote / brochure. So a nice title page with the customer's house on it, nice introduction page explaining the steps that you're going to walk them through with insurance, maybe a marketing page talking about your company business and who you are and your story, giving them a quote, giving them upgrades. It's that kind of start to finish. So the upgrades part specifically, we had a homeowner. This was about 6-7 years ago when we first started doing this. Sumo Quote wasn't around yet. We were just doing this with our roofing company. And we said, hey, we're going to complete this as per your insurance quote. And we had them signing off on everything. And it was this beautiful quote that made us stand out and explain the details, the step-by-step and all that. And on the authorization page, we said, here's some upgrades. Do you want to go from your base shingle to a class 3 Malarkey Vista or to a class 4 Malarkey Legacy? Or do you want high profile ridge cap or ridge venting? And, we put 4 or 5 on there. Well, the homeowner went through and checked off every single one. And we had to go back to them and be like, no, sorry, we can't install a Vista and a Legacy. Like we can't install 2 shingles. Those are 2 different shingles. You can only pick one of those. And they're like, oh, sorry. I just want a really good roofing system. So I just checked everything off. Like the number of people out there that they're just like, yeah. I want it to be better. I'm just going to check stuff off, and they don't even understand it. It's not that you're even tricking people into stuff. You're just offering it to them. And the fact that so many contractors don't even offer it or don't even bring it into a conversation, and homeowners are willing to spend and buy. So part of it is just put it in front of them. Just make it easy for them to select as a part of the process. And you're going to be blown away at how many people are checking stuff off that you never would have sold that stuff in the current way that you're walking them through it, right?
Man, that's incredible. I love that. That's definitely going to be a nugget in an Instagram reel. But question is, in our industry, there is no Amazon. There is no clear leader. I don't know. Maybe there is. Do you see one group out here above all kind of setting the standard in our industry? I have that as my mission statement, but I know that it's sort of a ununified Wild West industry with no clear winner on top.
Which is a massive advantage, right? I was doing some research on creating a customer experience, and it said they did polls globally, and they said the countries where homeowners had the greatest propensity to, expect a high level of customer experience. And the US was the top of the list at 26%. 26% of homeowners expected a standout customer experience because of how they've connected with Amazon and some of these other companies, right? In Germany, it was only 11%. And I would say people in the construction industry, so rather than looking at it country by country, think about it as industry by industry. And in the construction industry, homeowners are probably 5% actually expect a good customer experience because they just don't get it out there. And so there's this massive opportunity that if you can even be a little bit different, a little bit better, stand out a little bit more. Like I said, with our roofing company, when we went to that more professional style of quote, our closing rate went up 63%. You asked specifically, do I know any companies out there that are doing it? I know companies that are interested in doing it and are working on it. I think about guys like Dustin Bigler over at Apple Roofing, not just the experience, but the brand. I think they're doing some interesting things. John Dye, good dude in the industry. He's launched Modern Roof now, which I think he's trending in that direction on it. Certainly there's companies that utilize a ton of technology, which is interesting to see and how they're weaving that together. And it's just automating things. I think of a guy like Adam Sand. And Adam Sand is coming on with companies and building these processes and these automations so that their salespeople can do, not just $1 million, but $3, $4, $5 million of sales. And it's more of that inside sales type experience, right? Where you've got those marketing campaigns and text campaigns and all that stuff that's integrated in with it. So it's starting to happen, but it still feels pretty rare out there.
That's why that's why I want to take your tour of your shop and your sales process, and you got to come take a tour of mine.
Absolutely.
Because I think we're doing a better job of implementing what you talk about than anyone else in the country. And I think it's the volume of leads that we're generating. We built the technology and automation that connects the job Nimbus that has got a lot of improvement for the follow-up in the sell, build, collect process, but it's a virtual business suite for the sales rep, for the inside salesperson. And the main thing is that we can text, email, and communicate throughout, all in one place with the customer and have it in different pipelines. And at each stage of the pipeline, have automation and follow-up also. The reality is that, with this virtual sales component, this customer experience is about the most important. I mean, you got to get customers first. And, the one thing that, I'm looking to do is now being able to install solar across 40 states, helping roofers get solar on all their roofs, and me getting metal roofs all over the country. It's scaling virtually across the United States. Me and you had a conversation about getting Sumo Quote more involved with RCA, and talk to me about I have an inside sales department. I have an estimating department. Everybody in the estimating department needs access to Sumo Quote. Everybody in the inside sales department that's kind of like putting together quotes needs access. But your individual sales reps in your company would outsource to these departments doing their reports. Am I correct?
Yeah. So, they would work very close. Like they would sort of be hand in hand. They would all be in the sales department, but it's the customer facing individuals versus the not customer facing. So we would, in a busy storm time, we would build up that inside, well, it wouldn't necessarily be an inside sales team as we're talking about it here. We would build up that support team, that sales coordinator type role, where they're helping support the salesperson to really leverage their skills and ability. Because that's the hardest person to hire, is that true closer, and somebody that isn't just a sales closer, but knows the industry and understands roofing. And so we hire people that are a bit easier to hire and build support systems around the salesperson. Yeah.
And so that's exactly what I was thinking. And so, I'm curious, you've seen a lot of roofers trying to implement these processes, and it's about leadership. Jocko is speaking at my event. He's a big leadership guy. And so getting your team to buy into this, where are some mistakes that you've seen contractors make? And then where have you seen contractors really excel at implementing it? What are the habits? What do they do?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first easy one to point out is people feel with technology that they have to use 100% of it. They see all the cool things it can do, and the stuff can be amazing. But the low-hanging fruit on it, if you just get in and get going in a simple way, only replicating what you're currently doing, but getting all the benefit of how that technology automates it and helps support it. Just get in and get going, because you've got to test it, you've got to feel it, you've got to get the homeowner response, the company response. So I think the one big mistake is people feel like they need to launch it and have it do absolutely everything it can do. It's really difficult to onboard your team like that, right? The second thing would be, when you're onboarding your team, try and pick a champion or two and roll it out with those two. So get them to feel those wins and to work the bugs out of it so that it fits with your process. So you're not trying to reinvent your entire process. You're getting your process, fitting it into the technology, making sure it's really smooth and frictionless there, getting those big wins that get people excited, and then rolling it out to the team from there. So you don't have to, roll it out to, 10, 20, 50 people all at the same time. Roll it out with, 1, 2, 5, get the buy-in, figure out how it works, and see how it can benefit the company, and then get that proof and roll it out through the rest of the team there.
I'll share you a struggle that I'm having right now, and it's that all my salespeople have been insurance dependent. We are now offering a 20-year good leap loan to every single customer and encouraging them to move through the retail process as opposed to the insurance process. So selling with financing is something that you know a lot about. And so let's go through maybe the mistakes that you see contractors make when learning how to implement more financing, and then what good contractors do with it.
Well, again, I think it's you just need to do it. It's like offering upgrades, right? If you're not offering upgrades at all, you're never going to see all the people that would have checked it off and would have taken it. And it suddenly you realize how easy it could have been. Financing, I think, is the same thing. If you offer it, that's just step one. Just make sure you're offering it every single time. And then from there, step two is making sure you've got it, the sales side dialed in on what are the benefits of it and how you position financing compared to other options they've got. So yeah, I mean, getting it out there, period, first to start is the big step. The second one is just making sure you've got something to be able to explain it well. So to that point, create a marketing page, create one page, make it very visual. Don't put a ton of text on there. Don't have it be, copy heavy, as they say. Make it easy for the homeowner to understand and bundle it. Just say, hey, you could pay like this, cash. You could pay like this, your deposit with cash and the balance with a loan, or you could go 100% financing. And here's the benefits. But we all consume a ton of information every day. We're on the computer all the time. We're on Facebook. We're on all these other things. We give everything, about 3 seconds, if that, to get our attention. And if it doesn't get our attention, we move on. So you've got to make it very visual and get away from all this text that you're using on these marketing pages or in your quotes or however you're sharing it with homeowners. So that would be a big one, is if you want to roll it out well, get a one-page marketing page, make it as visual as possible. Whatever those key benefits are, make those as visual as possible. Make it easy for the homeowner to consume. And as soon as you've got their attention, now you've got a way better chance of closing them on that style of payment.
I like the Sumo Quote rolls in with financing, and you can do that through the program, right?
Oh yeah, we integrate with Sunlight. It's beautiful. Like you can have a good, better, best on each of your good, better, best packages. You can have a different payment plan. Your upgrades, like you've never sold an easier upgrade in your life than when you're selling it for $7 a month. Or $12 a month or something, right? That is the easiest way to add additional revenue. Some really, really slick, smooth ways that financing integrates right with Sumo Quote.
One of the things that my guys always struggle with is being able to, scale up, scale down, and you're really good at it. So any tips on hiring or put them into roles? I mean, I know that you actually do offer base pay in a lot of positions, and maybe more guys need to think that commission only is not the only way.
Yeah, that's certainly been us. And I haven't tried to coach companies on this stuff out there because I haven't.
Coach them up a little bit because I'm curious about it. Coach me up.
Yeah. I mean, well, I can share how we've done it. And if it's something that works for you, great, right? But with our salespeople, we go a high base rate. But that means in leaner years, they can feed their family. We're not losing people all over the place. So it's sustainable that we keep them through those lean years. But then the commission side of it isn't as high as 100% commission salesperson, right? So we've kind of got our key 6 sales guys, and one has been with us for as short as 2 years, but the other 5 have been 7 years. But I mean, that's where you've got these really talented, knowledgeable, like they're not just salespeople. They know roofing, they know insurance companies, they know the different insurance companies and the different adjusters and how they react and how to work with them. And like, they know the industry inside and out. And we've looked after them for years and years. They know we've got a high level of trust with them. So that works really, really well for us. And then that's where we can build those little teams around them so that when it gets crazy and they don't have time to go out there and climb roofs and meet with adjusters face to face and document all the damages, or even to write it up and Xactimate, we're leveraging the most valuable skill that they have. And then we're building resources around it. But yeah, no, the start of it is we pay them a high base rate so that we keep them and we get their confidence and their trust, and their families are looked after, and we're not worried about them running, in a lean time or in a busy time.
So scaling from 30 million to 48, or that's a big jump. And, there's a lot of culture, getting people in alignment, people outgrowing themselves. Sometimes winning creates new problems. What did any new problems you come across this year?
You know what, this is one, and this is a little different than what we've been talking about, right? Like, somebody asked me at the end of last year, it's just like, hey, what do you see coming up for 2022? Like, what's the big thing that people should be focusing on? And my response was, you know what, honestly, the biggest thing is your balance sheet and your financials, like making sure your profit loss every single month, and you understand exactly where the money's going. And you've got a forecasted cash flow statement so that you know if there's a potential pinch point coming up on, right? You've got good banking facilities with an operating line and a capital line. You've got a strong balance sheet for, in those leaner times. Like, it's not the sexy stuff to talk about, but that's what makes you a 20-year company versus a 5-year flash in the pan or something like that, right? Like it was honestly one of the biggest things for me. I read a book called Scaling Up, and last year with all the price changes and me going so rapidly in Hurricane Ida, I put out millions of commercial roofing material I kept on inventory that I didn't used to, because we had to locate the ISO, we had to locate the TPO. And so, here I was investing in the 3 locations. And the reality is, with price changes, even though I had my best volume year, I had one of my slimmest margin years. And so this first quarter, and ever since we implemented all these new things in place, our data analysts inside of our company, our accounting department, our CFO, all the different ridiculously holding people accountable first, but running the company by the numbers. And when you have this many people, if I don't have a daily meeting with all my team leaders, and then with my corporate managers, my twice a week corporate meeting, and then for each department, all the directors meetings, it's like, man, without all this stuff, I'd be flying a really big airplane with a lot of people on it. And if you don't know you're running out of gas, that's irresponsible. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, it's crazy. And I mean, so here's the thing, though. Not everybody needs to function like you and I, right? And right. You comment on your worst margins. I mean, one, your margins, which not everybody does. But two, you're setting yourselves up for a phenomenal year this year and for the future. Having said that, not everybody needs to have an HR director. We've got a chief cultural officer. We value culture so much. And a CFO and a controller and all these things. They can't afford it. But this is all I would say is you're going to have risk either way. If you are big, your risk is overhead. And you and I know that, right? Like, you got a big plane that takes a lot of fuel. So we need a ton of revenue. So that is our risk. Our risk is, if we don't get enough revenue, we're going to be in trouble. The flip side, if you're smaller and you don't have all of these things, that's fine. You can run a great company, but your risk is going to be that you don't have somebody specifically watching over your financials as tightly as you could be, right? You've got your accountant, but they're not an employee or potentially a shareholder. You don't have an HR director making sure that you've got the right documentation in place. You don't have a safety director making sure that stuff's being audited, and you've got your safety plans in place and people have signed off on them, and your onboarding is including all of this stuff, right? So your risks are a little more unknown, but you don't have to carry the overhead that we do. Whereas you and I have decided to go this route of, we're going to carry way more overhead, but our risks are a bit more known because we've got really, really sharp people in place working on really, really hard things very specifically.
Yes. And I want to tell you my experience, but after you tell me your experience, was your company and your life easier at 1 to 5 million or now?
Okay. So I've got 6 partners, which blows most people's mind. Right. Mm-hmm. And I always sort of caveat it with this, my partners, we don't always agree on everything. We typically leave a boardroom united, or at least considering other people's perspective. It's hard, but it's also my partners. I've never doubted for a second their integrity or their character. I've never seen them make a decision that's just going to benefit them and screw the rest of the company over or their partners or whatever else. So it's very, very rare. And so I've got phenomenal partners, which means they can manage these other parts of the company. Whereas I used to run sales for our roofing company, I can now just focus on Sumo Quote, run Sumo Quote. But bringing that back, I wasn't a part of the company when it was 1 to 5 million. Like I was a part of it as a shingler when it was 500,000. And so I felt that, but I felt it as an employee. I came along when we were, I think, 15, 18 million, and now we've scaled it from there. So I haven't felt that part of it specifically, but I've certainly seen a lot of the challenges we've gone through. Even just, I mentioned the importance of balance sheet, income statement, those financials and banking relationships and all that stuff. I've seen and felt a lot of that stuff over the last 10, 12 years since I've been with the company here. So it's, but I didn't catch that super early part of the company.
Well, I mean, one thing I think is very important information. A lot of people have business partners, and a lot of people have failed partner relationships. And so, what do you think is the reason why yours works? And what do you think is when you talk to contractors? I'm sure you hear them. There's bad partners out there. What's your advice on a good partnership and when to get out?
You know what? Like I would say first off, it's the integrity side of things, like that character, honesty, integrity, and so we've had bad partners and it's been really hard to get them out of the business. Right. And so, but where we've gone to more so these days is because we've tried to launch and grow a couple other companies that haven't gone as well. And it's largely been because of the champion that we put in place. And we've learned from our history in saying a champion is not going to have equity until they've been with us for typically it's 2 years, because you get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. You get to see them at their worst and how they react and respond. And you get to see how they communicate and go through these situations. And that's the invaluable stuff that's really hard to know if you bring on a partner, but you've never worked side by side with them and you don't know them in those tough times. So, and it's not to say that brings a guaranteed win, but it certainly helps your odds if you've seen them through those tougher times over the years.
Nice. So do y'all have anything for like team building or some sort of schedule for getting all the people on the same page? How do y'all get together throughout the year?
Yeah, man, we do, like the first thing that comes to my mind is I mentioned we've got a chief cultural officer because we've got over 200 employees with our companies. Right. And our chief cultural officer developed a program called Flywheel, which is it's a weekly thing that we take our mid-level managers through, mid to senior level managers through. And man, it's interesting. It's fascinating. It goes on for like 20 weeks. But he gets into it. There's a lot of life stuff. What have been the highs and lows of your life and life mapping? And it's more intense personally than what I've seen any other company get into out there. But man, it teaches people self-awareness and understanding and team building and yeah, it gets into a lot of interesting places that companies don't go. Honestly, I've been kicking them saying, hey, you guys, we got to make this a standalone company because other companies need this out there. Like it is valuable and it has helped our business significantly. And again, you get that culture and that buy-in and people.
I think there was some sort of special component to keeping all those people together. And, Jocko was one of the first times we went to over 20 million. We started to have these like problems where I'm the reason why we're successful. I'm the reason why we're successful. I'm the reason why, and this is normal. And so, for me, it's all on my shoulders. No such thing as bad teams, only bad leaders. And Jocko, he was the beginning of our culture fix. But there was a book called The Rockefeller Habits, Traction, this book called Scaling Up, very, very similar principles. And it was through discipline to these principles that my company really transformed. And recently, my mom, she's a guidance counselor. She built a big practice. She started doing this Enneagram coaching. And so it's funny. It's very similar. It's just like getting everybody's deep personality types and figuring out how to react and basically have interpersonal, just communication and education to get where you need to go. And a lot of times you find out, like, these the reason why we're not getting where we need to go, it's not because we're not trying. It's because we got to work together better.
Oh, absolutely. And just recognizing how different people are through that. So, and it's interesting you mentioned the Enneagram. I think it's a fascinating test. So if I were, and again, you and I haven't talked about this, I would guess you would probably be an Enneagram 8, a builder.
7.
Okay. So
visionary. I have 8 in my, I have a lot of 8 in my deal.
Yeah. I was thinking 8 wing 7. So maybe you're a 7 wing 8, right? Where absolutely. So no, that makes a ton of sense. Going through that stuff, like that's really important.
What are you?
I'm a 3 wing 4.
Dude, I attract 3s. I have a ton of 3s in my organization. And my mom really is coaching me on how to deal with 3s better, because 3s like to be good at their job. And my biggest challenge with 3s is I'm an enthusiastic visionary. I start a lot of tasks and I put them on them, and I don't always, like you said, take one part of it. I try to slam the whole thing down there. And what happens is because I can be a little bit passionate or / the 3s in me, if I get too many things going on and there's too much noise, it sounds like they're not doing their job well, and it hurts them. And so I have to be very sensitive with, how I deliver things.
So I'm the sensitive type? No, I'm joking.
But you are, because you do such a good job. No one ever questions you. You know what I mean?
Well, and this is the interesting stuff that you can get into with some more of this understanding, right? And it's understanding people and considering people, right? So you hear Lee here talking about considering others and how he needs to consider others in order to lead well, and right, but this is really important, engaging stuff. So a 3 is an achiever, a 4 is more of the feeler kind of thing, and so I strive and work hard and want to achieve, and I have a deep drive to build stuff and make stuff happen. But then I've got this emotional awareness with this wing 4, which is how, you talk about Sumo Quote and why do we do the things we do? Well, we built this thing that makes it easier. It helps standardize this way for contractors to connect emotionally with homeowners, and in a way that homeowners get it. And it's understanding how are they feeling going through this, and it works. It closes deals because it's got that connection with them.
That's why, because I say people buy when their emotion is greater than the resistance. That's when people buy. And so we automate trust, right? We automate this stuff so that's why I am who I am and have created what I've created, and you are, and you're creating what you're creating. And there's, a nice compliment in that stuff there. Yeah, man. And I'm so pumped. I invited you to speak at the Blue Collar American Dream Conference. I don't invite just randomly other vendors to speak. It's because you're practicing what you preach. You're with 200 employees, $45 million company, a leader in Canada as a roofer, one of the largest roofers in Canada, one of the largest roofers in the United States. And I think that the future is selling digital roofs in the United States, and hopefully we can collaborate on that together. Because I'm excited about the opportunity of becoming a digital roofer. What problems do you see of scaling a 100% virtual or digital company? What are the big challenges you think that one would encounter on that path?
I think you still want a homeowner to know that you understand their home and you understand their specific scenario. So I think you've got to find a way to make sure you've always got boots on the ground and somebody getting those inspection photos, checking for 2-layer tear, making sure you've got good access, making sure you understand the property. Because I can connect with you and sell virtually via Zoom or whatever here, because you could, we don't lose that kitchen table experience, or we don't lose much of it. So technology can let us do this, and then we can be so much more proficient in how we go through that. But I need those photos. I need to know that I intimately understand your home and your job, because I need to be able to connect and communicate with you on that. So as long as I've got somebody that can do that, I can close deals very efficiently with greater tools at my fingertips, everything I've got on my computer. So I can pull anything up and have way more tools than somebody just sitting at a kitchen table. And I can make it more convenient for the homeowner because it's when I'm not forcing them to come home from work early and then sitting in their house and delaying dinner and having their kids screaming. And like, I can do this when it's convenient for them and I make it easy. So yeah, I think, but you got to find a way to make sure that you've got that feeling of being on site. So you've still got to make sure that you can't think digital sales and I scale and I just use EagleView and Sumo Quote and Zoom and close deals. You've still got to make sure you understand the project because that's obviously, as contractors, we know how critically important that is. Don't ignore that or think you can scale without that.
No, and my family's got really where we're at because we educate people on how to be a real roofing professional, how to sell, build, collect. But it's like, if you can get an inspection and you have a network of roofers to install it and I can generate the lead, what's stopping us from just generating the leads for our best clients all over the United States and selling the jobs and having them install it? You think they're going to be upset with us serving them up jobs ready to go?
No, then the next step is, right, in going back to that customer experience, awareness, sales experience, production experience.
Inconsistent.
You've got to be, pardon?
Yeah, if you're using a network, there would be inconsistent production.
Well, you can audit, right? You got to make sure your production's good, and you've got to make sure that your warranty is great. Like you've got to serve people. You've got to like at the end of the day, you've got to make sure that they're looked after. So if something, we offer, and I don't know, I'm curious your thoughts on this. We offer a lifetime workmanship warranty because what we found was even in year 7, if the shingle blows off and it's like, it's not our fault. Look where the nails were through the nailing line. We 6-nailed it. Like it was storm nail pattern. Like the shingle just blew off. Like it happens. Try convincing the homeowner of that, right? So what are you going to do? Are you going to spend $150? Get a shingle, patch it in and make them happy? Or you're going to say, no, $500 minimum charge, like for us to put this one shingle back up and it takes 20 minutes. And like, are you going to create raving fans and people that love you and guard your brand and your reviews? Or are you going to try and make sure you get every little piece of profit that you possibly can, only short-term thinking and not long-term thinking kind of thing, right? So ultimately you need to make sure, and this is where I think so heavily on the sales side, my one partner that runs our production, he is invaluable. He is somebody that would need to be included heavily to make sure that if you created this experience and you went national and all this, you didn't lose production and you didn't lose warranty and good service and good value. And you got to make sure your name is good at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, you're right. And, training is important. And being able to get a process on the back end with Company Cam is what we do. Train our roofers in virtual training, require a certain set of Company Cam photos, and then get a statement of completion signed. And what we find is that we can get a pretty better uniform production, even if we use a lot of different subs. So if I use licensed roofers as opposed to unlicensed roofers, I believe I can create a better customer experience than your average or better than most roofers. And so obviously, you and me know who the best roofers to partner with who align with our values because, we've worked with a lot of these guys over the years. We can kind of see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's it. But I love that you're talking about process. I love that you're saying the training can be done virtual, right? So you're more modern in that you're not thinking it needs to only be in person. And then there's process that you layer on top of technology for scaling and efficiency and everything else to make sure that they always do it a certain way, right? Like when it's crazy and we train our gutter installers to do inspections, you do the photo at the front of the house, you walk around, you do photos of every angle of the walls, you do your siding inspection. When you go up the ladder, there's 4 photos. You do your pitch photo, you check for drip edge, you match your color, make sure you've got a color swatch for metals, you match your gutter, and you measure your soffit, right? Like and
I like that inspection checklist. That sounds like a good checklist, man.
And everybody does it, and it is done the same way every time. And that's how you can scale and make sure that stuff isn't falling off falling off the rails as you're really scaling and going for it.
And as I look at everybody's checklist and process, oh, this is good from this guy. Oh, this is better from this guy. We'll add both of those into this. And so that's what I love most about this mastermind. And that's what my conference is about is, everyone that gets invited to speak, they've helped me. They've complimented me. They've coached me. Sumo Quote's helped our inside sales department. We've launched it into our sales department. I'm going to do a better job of getting upgrades on every job, offering financing through Sumo Quote and getting, more committed. A lot of times guys are wondering what's different about like May 27th to 29th, the Blue Collar American Dream Conference. Well, it's a working system. We've got $200 million worth of results for our clients and for ourselves. And everyone on the stage speaking is a part of the working system, a coach to me who made the working system, a student who made results with the system. And Ryan here has a technology that has really helped my company. And so I really want him to connect with you, even if you're at 1 to 5 million, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, even if you're just getting started as a roofing sales rep, because you can use this tool to sell upgrades on every deal, to close a higher percentage. And man, Ryan, where can they get in touch with you? How can they catch up with you, or are you on social media for them to connect?
Yeah. I mean, Facebook or LinkedIn. Honestly, they can email me if they want, ryan@sumoquote.com. But the best thing is check out Sumo Quote. Just go to sumoquote.com. You can grab a free trial or jump on a demo, because jumping on a demo, we will walk you through Sumo Quote, but we'll also understand your process and work with you to understand how your process can fit into our tool to make it fast, easy, frictionless to get going with things and get those big wins.
Cool, man. Well, we'll talk a little bit more at the conference, and I'll be excited to hear your speech. And man, it's great talk. We'll have to do this again because it's really about execution. I'm putting it out there, brother. We are scaling this virtual division of our department. We're opening up 20 locations, and I'm going to need your help. So I'm going to be relying a lot on your advice when it comes to the process and getting this customer experience dialed in so that we are Amazon, Chick-fil-A of roofing. It means that you collaborate to dominate with all the key players in your market. So excited to have you on the team, Ryan, and appreciate you doing the podcast. Guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, comment below. Go ahead and subscribe. Make sure that you get notifications. Man, awesome talk.
Lee, appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to the conference in May there. Can't wait to get out there.
Okay, buddy. We'll see you.